What's up, guys? Living Lee Life here. You can see I'm wearing a dinosaur shirt. My wife asked, "Did you choose the dinosaur shirt because they ferociously attacked, much like we ferociously attacked Iran?" Maybe. But it's not that simple. We didn't necessarily ferociously attack Iran. It wasn't like this wasn't mentioned or warned about in the past weeks. Trump has been saying that Iran needs to make a deal. He's been saying he will support their people. He's been saying the regime must come to an end. They will not have nuclear weapons. Why is that bad for us to say and protect the world and tell them you cannot have nuclear weapons? If we look in the past, Iran has been a safe haven for terrorists for about 47 years. They recruit, they train, they send out their cells, they conduct massive terrorist attacks, they kill hundreds of innocent people, then they retreat back to Iran where they refit, retrain, re-recruit, gain more people, and they've just continued this cycle. It's time we done something about it. I'm glad to see that this might be the moment where the regime finally crumbles. Iran can take their country back, the people can be free, and hopefully America can help and assist and gain a stronger ally through this. There's going to be a few problems. There's going to be a few actions that we need to watch for to make sure this doesn't spiral out of control like the Democrats are already claiming it's going to, that Trump overstepped his power and that we're going to be in a long Middle Eastern war. That's not necessarily true, although this could reshape how we had previously viewed the future. This could significantly impact what that future looks like. So we're going to dig right into it. I'm going to do something a little different here. By now, if you haven't heard Trump's full speech on the attack, essentially, Israel and the U.S., we've teamed up and we bombed targeting Iranian leaders, the regime, the Ayatollah, essentially. We're targeting and trying to take out their leadership. What's important about this speech, though, is Trump mentions a few key words. He mentions the word war, which, as you know, Congress is going to jump all over that, stating that the president can't declare war. Only Congress can declare war. That's already been a previous conversation, and that is true. I believe he chose these words wisely. So I do believe that he may be going to Congress, maybe trying to establish some type of war resolution or what have you. The biggest thing is he says that American soldiers may lose their lives. So that stands out to me, understanding kind of how the military attacks. So their strikes is what we've done before, where we fly the planes over and then we bomb them. There is danger to the U.S. soldiers, obviously, anytime you enter a hostile airspace, hostile zone, hostile territory, whatever. There's obviously dangers associated with that, but the potential or the accepted risk or accepted loss for a mission like that, a strike mission, very low. Very low. Whenever the military starts these operations, whenever they start planning any type of attack, any type of, whether it's during wartime or even during training, we plan for an accepted loss. The military needs to establish, so best case scenario, this is what happens. We take that key terrain with minimal or zero life loss. But we plan for the worst case, and then we kind of have to accept what the loss could look like. So taking this key terrain, we could potentially, let's say, lose 10 soldiers. Does that loss outweigh the reward? Is this key terrain worth it? This is constantly happening through the decision-making process, through the planning process, through everything we do, or in the military that they do. They make these decisions, and they're weighing it. There's an acceptable loss rate, right? So for Trump to say that we may lose soldiers, that leads me to believe that it would be more than just airstrikes, because that acceptable loss is so low during that airstrike because we have superiority in the sky, unless Russia or China or any of these major military forces get involved, then we do dominate the sky. So for him to state that soldiers may lose their life, is that implying that he's going to put troops on the ground? I don't know. We're only going to see. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, what that could look like or what that could essentially imply and some second and third order effects that could occur that we need to watch. But first, I wanted to look. So go watch his full speech. It's only 8 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole video here. Instead, I wanted to look at kind of how people are reacting. This just came out not long ago. You can see it was 8 hours ago. So we're going to look at some of the comments here and see how people are reacting. So first here, this speech is basically a declaration of full-blown war. I would agree. He uses the word war. He also basically condemns the Iranian freedom fighters and the police, and he pretty much tells them to put down their weapons or they will be killed. He's saying now is the time, put down the weapons, pure immunity, there'll be no repercussions, you just put them down, essentially say sorry, and we're just going to accept that. If you do not put down the weapons, then you will face death. That's what we're going to talk about in a little bit. How will they face that death unless there's troops on the ground targeting those type of like militia groups and freedom fighters and what have you? Because we can't just go bomb every building. They're going to use people as cover. They're going to hole up in high populated areas. And as you know, the U.S. isn't just going to bomb and kill all these civilians. Collateral damage, we try to keep it to a minimum. So how would we kill all of these soldiers that don't put their weapons down unless there's troops on the ground that can target them specifically? Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. Our prayers for those who are involved in the war. That's great. We need to support our troops regardless. Remember, they signed up to defend this nation's freedom. They have to follow the orders that are given to them, regardless what these Democrats say online nowadays. And those orders sometimes send them to harsh environments, but they are well trained to survive in these situations and win our nation's wars. What they don't need is the constant stress and hatred from some civilian working at the Bojangles who's judging them because some Democrat said that we shouldn't be doing this. So then they're creating this weird tension. So then that soldier who is preparing to leave his family and go defend this nation's freedom doesn't need those added stresses from you in the comments or maybe yelling at him while you're in the Walmart parking lot looking super chubby, just buying your Hot Pockets. They don't need that hate, right? They signed up to defend this nation. They may get orders to go perform those actions. You need to support the troop. You don't have to necessarily support the idea or support the concept, but you need to support the individual because he has nothing to do with that. He's not the one who said, hey, let's go to Iran and take down the regime so that the Iranian people can finally be free of the oppression and the constant fear of murder. The troop didn't actually make that decision. He just, or she, is just following orders. So don't take it out on them. Support our troops. He really hits us with the some of you may die. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. That's true, guys. Like, people die all the time. But what are you willing to die for? What are you? Leave it in the comments below. I'm willing to die for my respect, my country, my wife, obviously my daughter, family, religion. There are certain things that you would be willing to put your life on the line for. And if you have nothing that you'd be willing to put your life on the line for, then I feel sad for you, because that's a pretty terrible life, not to believe in anything. Declaring war on a trucker hat. Yikes, I hate wars. Soldiers die and their so-called leaders sit home and don't give an F. That's just simply not true. I'm sure that it weighs heavily. So I've been in these situations and asked my soldiers to do hard tasks, right? It's hard to, war is ugly. It is not fun. It's hard. I can only imagine at the highest level to send so many people into a hostile situation. That's a hard thing to do. Let's keep in mind too that Trump has been essentially demanding / begging Iran to accept the peaceful deal, the talks. He's saying, like, do not make a nuclear weapon, right? Iran basically is like, nah, dog, we're not going to agree to that. And he's like, please do this or you will suffer repercussions. And Iran's like, nah, man, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? So now Trump's saying, like, hey, I'm going to do something about it and we're going to remove this regime. Hopefully that he sticks all the way through this and we can just finally eliminate this terrorist safe haven that's been building for the last 47 years. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't care. He's not just hitting a button like, boop, go to war. Let's see what happens, guys. I'm going to be playing Xbox or whatnot. He's still, it weighs heavy on these leaders, so don't underestimate that fact just because you've never been in this situation or never had to make a tough decision. The wife who remembers everything today, you remember it. Yep, God help us all. That's a little intense. I thought he was the president of peace. Look, you can't. How do you establish peace then? What do we do? What do we do? Leave it in the comments below. These people have been attacking America, not just America. They've been attacking modern civilization for decades. I could bring up all these attacks. Maybe I do a separate video on that. The attack of Beirut, there's been these terrorist attacks. You don't remember these Islamic extremists that were running around Europe stabbing people on the trains, or the Bondi Beach attack that just happened recently, obviously a little bit further back to 9/11. There's been these terrorist attacks consistently. So how do you stop it? Leave a comment below. How do you stop it? Like, what should he do? Should we just sit back? Like, oh man, another American died today due to the Iranian regime funding terrorists consistently and providing safe havens for them. Like, that sucks for that American guy, but we shouldn't get involved. So, what, like, come on, guys. When all else fails, they take you to war. That doesn't make sense. As a military mom, this worries me. Yeah, I mean, I can agree. It would worry me as well if my daughter was serving in the military and this started popping off. It would worry me. Except I would trust that she is fully trained and capable to handle these situations. I would also worry if my daughter was going to a public space or a public protest, especially with a lot of radicalized Democrats there. I would be worried if my daughter was going to Minnesota and had to wear her uniform because you people, the Democrats, are just so radicalized and violent that I wouldn't know if she's going to make it out of it. I would be worried about that as well. So yes, I would be worried if she was being sent to Iran. I would also be worried if she was being sent to Minnesota, which is in the United States. I worry sometimes whenever she goes to whatever these public places, just because of the way people act nowadays. You never know exactly what's going to happen. Also, the radicalized extremists attack here on U.S. soil constantly, creating these mass shootings, creating all these situations. So there's worry constantly. But if we have the opportunity to reduce that threat, i.e. take out the terrorist safe haven in Iran, then it would make the world a little bit better place. Yes, lives may be lost. That is sad. But as Trump said, we need to build for the future. This has to happen to make the future a safer place. This often happens in war. I thought he obliterated it first time. War Dodger that uses your sons and daughters as pawns. War Dodger? Man, who is this guy? Who is this guy? This guy I don't mention. Sacrificing American lives for Israel. It's not for Israel. So this is the type of rhetoric I believed I was going to be seeing on these comments and stuff. Sacrificing American lives for Israel. I saw one Democrat. I couldn't find it to pull it up in time for this video, but I saw one Democrat that was like, oh, I hate war. I had buddies die in the Iraq and Afghanistan war for no reason at all, and now we're going to start another war and more Americans are going to die and all this other stuff. That's just insane to me. We're not, so how many people, right? I'll pull it up, do a video on it. I lived this life for quite some time, essentially fearing for my life in these different nations and countries, even though we weren't at war, but there's still Americans that die every year. When does that stop? Or do we just accept that? Like, well, okay, so last year only 100 Americans died due to terrorism or due to hate for this nation. That American was just performing security on an oil rig in Syria, let's say, or maybe just security on an embassy or some type of compound, right? They just got hired to perform this task, and then the terrorists just hate them because they represent the American flag, and they killed them. What do we do about that? Is that for Israel? So now, if you come to my house and you threaten or hit my wife, and I just beat the shit out of you, what is that for? Is that Would that be for other women? Would that be for like what would be it? I'm saying Israel has a problem with this nation Iran. America also has a problem with this nation Iran. The world has a problem with this terrorist ideology attacking innocent civilians. Let's not forget what just happened in Australia. So to just be so ignorant that like, oh man, we're just doing this for Israel. Why can't we just do this for the world? When does it stop? It could stop now if we unify and if we have support from both parties, support of the people. We could end this. Imagine a world without terrorism. Imagine that these random train attacks, these random IEDs, these random drone attacks, these random stabbings on all these beaches. Imagine a world where that just didn't happen, right? Wouldn't that be great? That would be amazing. But silly things like this, that people are going to denounce these actions, is what's going to prevent us from acting further and finally eliminating this threat. Open your eyes, guys. Just when you think the world couldn't even get worse, reality TV officially off Trump. No longer. Okay. Iranian people deserve this help. Thank you. Thank you. He's probably going to get like a million hate messages and stuff for this, but Iranian people deserve this help. This is true. All people. So you're here in America. Let's just talk about this for a second. You're here in America and protesting our laws, our requirement for citizenship to vote. You're protesting the fact that we're trying to essentially police the illegal immigration rate. We allow anybody who doesn't have like a criminal record and everything, we allow you to apply for citizenship, to receive a visa. You can receive asylum. You have to do it the proper way. You got to fill out paperwork. And you don't like that, though. You're like, no, open the borders. Anybody can come. Like, everything can happen, right? But then whenever this war and everything starts happening, you're like, we love everybody. Everybody needs to come here. We need to help everybody. We need to give our taxpayers money to all these immigrants so that they can live a better life. But Iran is literally an oppressive nation. They're killing their people. Everybody is just getting killed in the streets, and you seem to not care about that. But you want to keep the illegal Mexican who fled his country because he was about to get arrested and thrown in prison, and he snuck across the border. You want to give him a bunch of money, and you want to fight and protect his rights to stay in the country, but you don't want to help the people who are literally catching bullets in the streets because they hope for a better life. That is insane. That is insane. It's time to just grow up. It's time to unify America. That is crazy. So let's talk a little bit about what could happen here, right? For those of you that don't know, we're probably going to end it here because I feel like I'm just ranting, but thanks for staying so long. So Iran is here. As you can see, let me make sure my mouse is showing up. It is. Okay. So Iran is here. What I see happening, we obviously, we've postured and we have military ships all through here. We have military ships all through here and what have you. So Israel is over here, right? They're fighting, America's fighting, and we bombed Iran. Iran's pretty big, but they have missiles. These missiles can reach all different things. Essentially, they have a few missiles that are considered long range but not intercontinental, where they can hit down all the way to, I believe, northern Somalia, India, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Austria, France, Spain. They can hit these places with the missiles that they have, right? They can direct attack even closer. So we have troops all through here. The UAE, obviously, everybody knows Dubai. That's part of the UAE. We have Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, and Baghdad. We have Erbil. There's troops up here in the Jordan area. I don't want to give away all the locations. Syria. And then, obviously, the Israel people. These are all people. So Iran's going to target all of these locations. Iran has allies just like the U.S. has allies. Now, these Middle Eastern countries have claimed that they're going to be allies to the U.S., like Saudi Arabia, Jordan. They claim to be our allies, but this is going to be a true test because Iran is going to call upon help. They're going to need help. They cannot sustain or win a war against America, right? Like, they just would not stand a chance. What could happen though is they could start getting help from these other nations who believe in the not the Islamic ideation, but who support that Islamic viewpoint, that radicalized viewpoint, right? So, for example, Saudi Arabia, it is still a death penalty for homosexuality. If you get caught in, for being a homosexual, they behead you, right? So they still have some of these extreme views. They don't necessarily agree with what's happening in America. These other countries may see this as an opportunity to essentially unify and make a huge stand against the Western civilization. More importantly, though, what we need to kind of pay attention to is, as everybody knows, Russia has invaded Ukraine many years ago. It was supposed to just be a few days, and now I believe we're going on almost a fourth year. But if we go in and we take out Iran, how does that happen, right? The regime right now controls the army and a lot of other armed freedom fighters type stuff. So let's say we go into Iran, we eliminate the regime. Let's say that we cut the head off the snake. In order to do that, we would have to cripple their military, right? We would have to destroy these troops and their missile facilities and all these things so that we could get in there and essentially relieve the regime of its power. But then what do? So if we move into Iran, let's say we go in there, we kill the regime, we kill all the resistance fighters, we destroy all their military assets, right? Then what do? If we just leave, now Iran, the people, are free of the oppressive power, but they're also vulnerable to everybody in their immediate area. So Afghanistan would probably want some more land, right? But we just destroyed Iran's army, so they have no way to fight back. So what's to stop Pakistan, who is actually, very violent and wants to destroy India since the beginning of time? What's to stop Pakistan from moving in and then taking over Iran? More importantly, what's to stop Russia or China from moving in and taking this land? This is why this is going to have to be very strategic. We're going to have to pay attention to how Trump or our military fights this front. If we put troops on the ground to eliminate those freedom fighters strategically and minimize collateral damage, what are we going to do afterwards? We can't just have another disaster like the Obama administration whenever they pulled out of Afghanistan, or whenever they removed the interceptor missiles from Europe just because Russia didn't like it. Which, what was that about? Russia's like, well, I don't like that you have the interceptors in Europe. What does it matter? The interceptors are defensive. The only reason it would bother you is if you ever plan to shoot missiles over here into Europe, right? Because the interceptors would destroy them anyways. I digress. Maybe we do a different video. But so pay attention to that. Pay attention to how strategic and these decisions are going to be to relieve Iran of its oppressive powers, to remove these terrorist organizations and terrorist representatives that are armed, right? We must remove them as well to free the people, but we have to do it in a way that leaves the people empowered to defend their land so that we don't create that power vacuum or that void. Much like we did in Iraq, which crippled it for a while, and we're still trying to recover, exactly like we did in Afghanistan and a few other parts of the world as well. So this is my message now. Let's use this time to hopefully defeat this terrorist safe haven. We can finally make the world a better place. Let's do that. Let's not use this time to create more divide, looking at you Democrats, to create a greater divide between our nation, between the Democrats and the Republicans, so that you can win votes and then you can pull everybody out and then the world's just in a more terrible place. Let's just try to make things better. Let's try to support our troops, support our nation, and hopefully just see terrorism finally start to decline instead of grow. That's the whole point. If Iran continues down this path and was to get a nuclear weapon, what do you think they would do with it? Look at all the huge prevalent terrorist attacks in the past, to include 9/11, the Beirut bombings, all these different mass casualties. Now imagine if they had nukes. Would they push the button? Yes, they would. Let's make sure that doesn't happen. Make sure to support our troops. Make sure to like and subscribe, and vote Lee 2028. Peace.